Well, hello, Internet. So nice to see you. So we are here today for another music theory talk. If you are listening to us, say hi in the chat and say from where you are from where you are, where you're from, whatever. Okay, I'm always curious to see where you guys are listening from. Say hi in the chat. Hi in the chat. Congratulations. Okay. Great comment. So, guys, first of all, today we're going to talk about arpeggio licks. But for 1 minute, I'm going to change the topic. Okay, for just 1 second, I'm going to change the topic before we go to the arpeggio licks. Okay, the first thing I want you guys to tell you is this: is that you probably know that. Okay, that I have this free ebook here available. It's about pentatonics, 18 tips. Okay, it's completely free. Everybody who got it loves it. Okay, super simple. It makes you sound better with just 5 notes. Get it? The link is down in the description. Okay, boom, done. Here's the shameless promo done in a second. Okay, and now we go to our topic: arpeggios. Arpeggios are just chords play one note at a time. Simple as that. Okay, so any chord you can play, anything like can be played as an arpeggio. Okay, of course, it gets way more complex than that. The problem with arpeggios is that they are simple at first. Okay, so you just learn the arpeggio typically up and down, up and down, up and down, and then you're left with, but what do I do with that? Okay, how do I actually make music with that? How do I create the variations of those arpeggios that sound like actual melodies and not just exercises where you play the arpeggio up and down all the time? So, what I did, I thought of doing a video myself, but since we have the expert, why don't we talk with the expert? So, the guy I'm about to introduce is very young, and that's not a problem because when he was 16, he was already out shredding me. Okay, so I mean, and so that his age is no problem. The guy's a very mature player anyway. A young virtuoso, as I call him. Okay, so let me introduce you to Mr. Johan Tilgren with two L's, by the way. Mr. Tilgren,
Hey,
how's it going?
going good. How are you?
Fantastic. So, I understand that you have a lot of ideas about arpeggios.
That's right.
That's okay. So, Johan, can you start by telling us why arpeggios? Why you like arpeggios so much?
Well, arpeggios are a pretty cool way to, make music, make things musical, make things sound more, spacey or more, you know, uh, more musical, basically. So that's a really hard question, actually. Why arpeggios? It sounds really cool. It sounds really cool.
Fantastic. Well, they sound cool. That's enough. Send me. Have you seen that we have a lot of people in the chat saying hi here? We have people from Germany. We have Alexis. Hi, Alexis. We have Niklas. Hi, Niklas. Old friends. Not that they are old. John, Bruce. Hi. Hi, guys. Nice to see you. So, Johan, why don't we start with a simple leak and you start showing us something simple and then make it more and more and more complex. And by the way, for everybody, on both YouTube and Facebook, if you go in the description, you have a link to a PDF with the leaks we're gonna do today. Okay. Oh, incidentally, yes. Everybody is old compared to Johan. Yes, definitely. Okay, so if while Johan explain, you can follow him along on the PDF. Okay, so just go click on there. The download is automatic. Okay, there's no paywall. There is no email wall. You just click and you have immediately the PDF. Okay, just in the description, so that you can follow Johan along. Very good. So without further ado, Johan, do your magic. Show us the first leak.
Sure, yeah. So the cool thing about guitar is that you have, very cool opportunities to play arpeggios that may not be either possible or on other instruments, or it just sounds way cooler on guitar. This will really not be random licks to copy. There will, there's examples in the PDF, but the examples are just examples. What I want to show you is basically how to create arpeggios on the spot or improvise endlessly with arpeggios. I know a lot of theory, but I'm sitting here with a theory expert. So if I ever say anything wrong, feel free to correct me, Tommaso, about the chords and the theory behind it. The principle is that every chord that you know how to play, you can also make into an arpeggio. So step one is just, if you have a chord like, I don't know, you can take the notes and just play them as an arpeggio. That's the very basic foundation. But what we're going to work on today is what's called creative arpeggio shapes, which is when you take a basic shape and you add a couple of notes around it so that you can improvise with it endlessly. And there will be some cool licks as well, so that you can see on the PDF. So the basic concept, we're going to start with example 1 here, is that you play a triad and then you add one extra note. And the thing is, if you don't add this, if you just play the triad, and the triad is basically, root, third, fifth, if you only play those, it's going to be really difficult to play it fast on guitar or to improvise around with it. So if you play guitar for a while, you probably know the basic, 3-string arpeggios, 5-string arpeggios, you probably played them at least once. Problem with them is they're pretty jumpy, so you have to jump a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these basic triads and we're going to add one note. So first example is if you take an A minor triad, A, C, E, then you add a B note, you get what's called an A minor add 9. And this is something you can improvise endlessly with. If you just play these notes, and we will get to the examples in PDF as well. So if you just improvise with these notes, so we have A, and we have B, and we have C, and we have E. You can do a lot of things, like you can improvise around the arpeggio, and it's much easier than if you do just a triad.
So essentially, just to clarify for everybody, what you're doing right now is simply you're taking an arpeggio, which is A minor, and the notes are A, C, and E.
Yes.
And then you're adding an extra note. In this case, you're adding a B, which is the second or the ninth of the arpeggio. Okay, technical term, but it's just so you have the notes A, B, C, and E. And then what you just did, you're just playing those notes, you're just improvising using only those 4 notes, as if it was a scale, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it's an arpeggio, but the idea is that you simply find the pattern of those 4 notes wherever they are, and you just improvise on top, as if you were improvising on a pentatonic or another scale, etc. The difference is, since those notes all work very well together, unlike a scale where all those notes are slightly in conflict with each other, the arpeggio, the notes go all well together, or there are some conflicts, but they are really bounded on just a few of them, okay? Just enough to add spice. Then whatever you play on those 4 notes will sound great. I'm just making it explicit for the people at home, essentially, okay? As usual, guys, if you have any questions about all that, even if are simple questions, no problem, write them in the chat, okay? And Johan and I will answer them, or will direct you to adequate resources so that you guys can, whatever doubt you have, how you finger this stuff, how you build all this stuff, etc., write them in the chat, and then we tell you what to do, okay? There's no problem. We all started somewhere, okay? There were a moment where I did not know anything, and Johan could not play, okay? And then we learn. So, make sense, guys? Don't be shy with the questions. Okay, good, Johan. Next.
Yes. So now comes this is basically the whole philosophy and concept of how I play arpeggios. One example of how to do this is just one string, and this in the PDF, this is example 1. What you do here is you play, the basic Van Halen arpeggio, like I play A, C, and E. So it's just an A minor triad, and this goes.
Can you play that slow and show exactly where you're pulling off and when you're hammering on?
Yes. So I start with a tapped note on the 12th fret, the E note. Then I do a pull off to the 5th fret, and then I hammer onto the 8th fret. And then 12th fret, 5, 8, 12, 5, 8. And then the cool thing is that around this, you can make lots of variations. So this is the triad. But if we change, for example, the C note to a B note instead on the 7th fret, we have an A sus2 arpeggio. And the cool thing here is that instead of thinking of this, okay, now I'm just going to do A minor or I'm just going to do A sus2, how about you change between them? So then you have some cool space stuff you can play right away. So that's a pretty cool thing. Or you can do all of those notes. So you do 5, 7, 8, 10. So you do. You have a pretty cool arpeggio. And while we're making changes here, we can also change the tap notes. So instead of maybe doing the E note, maybe we add the F note. So we have a flat 6 note in the A minor arpeggio. So and you can improvise around that. So I seldom play one. If you play one arpeggio for too long, it gets pretty boring. So what I do is I change between them quite a bit. So yeah, that's basically the first one-string arpeggio example. Yes. Also, if you want to, you can add open strings as well. So you can do, if we want, instead of doing the E note up here, we can do the E note as an open string instead. So we do E, A, and C. So. So hammer, hammer, pull off, hammer, hammer, pull off, pull off. The same thing there. You can do a sus2. So you take the B instead. And then in the PDF, I have some more examples where you take basically the same notes, but you just modulate them. Not modulate. You move them higher. So you go maybe 7, 8, 8, 12, or 12, 13, 12, 17, or you change between them. So. And the whole principle behind this is that I think it's more like a piano. So on a piano, you see all the notes in a row, basically. Here on one string, you see all the notes as well. So it's basically like playing arpeggios on a piano. So it sounds way cooler on guitar. So also you can combine open strings, tap notes. You can do like 0, 5, 8, 12. Just doing that, you can go like all day. Yeah. So and you can now someone may ask, okay, so what if I want to play E flat minor or C sharp minor or anything? You can just skip the open string and just do tapping and legato. So you do, let's say we have C sharp minor. You can do kind of different things there. Or you can actually, this is actually a secret trick, and that only you here on the live stream are going to know about. You can actually create an artificial open string. So you can play 2 notes in the left hand, and you can hold another note further down. And this is kind of advanced, so if you don't make it right away, that's totally fine. So you do 2 notes here. So for example, if you do, let's do an E minor chord. We have an E here, then we have a G. Then maybe you want to have a B note down here, but it's kind of hard. Or actually, you can play, but it's kind of stretchy. So then what you do is you have the left hand here, and then you hold the right hand, actually holds this note. So you do. So basically the middle finger in the right hand holds this note on the side of the finger, and you mute the other strings with the middle finger. So that's a more advanced trick, but it's one thing you can try if you want to. Yes, so that's basically it.
I wonder how many people right now went away scared seeing the crossing hands. Okay, but that's the thing, guys. The crossing hands are actually much easier to do than it looks. Okay, if you just hold that note down there, and then you do the. I mean, you have to get the thing. Well, maybe if there's a bit of distortion, it's better here. You need to get this going, but once. Holding this is super easy, okay? So it's really not a big problem to do, okay? So just, you guys know, it's easy. You just need to do it. The legato part, yeah, that is a technically harder, but it's just exercise, essentially, okay? Makes sense? So, and it's just a matter of sitting down and thinking about it for a moment. Now, we have an interesting question here. Before we go ahead with all the other arpeggios, an interesting question. So, and which would be, what are some of your favorite chord progressions to arpeggiate?
Well, it depends on if I wrote the song or not. If I play another person's song, it's just, okay, I play whatever arpeggio there. But actually, that's a good question. So I like, 1 chord and 6 chord. For example, A minor and F in the key of A minor is just a lot of fun to play because it sounds cool. So if you do, A minor at 9, and then you do maybe F at 9.
Good. I wanted to go through this note by note because I know people will be like, I like that, I want to transcribe it. So go through it note by note.
Okay, this one is not in the PDF. I knew this would happen. I get it all the time.
That's okay.
Yeah. So this is the A minor add 9 starts on the 17th fret here with the pinky finger, and then you do a pull off to the 12th fret, which is the E note. And then you play the C note on the 2nd string on the 13th fret, and then pull off to the B note on the 12th fret, and then you play the A note on the G string on the 14th fret. And then on the way back, you do hammer-ons. So 12, 13, 12, 17. So 17, 12, 13, 12, 14, 12, 13. So that's the minor one. If you want to do it, make it major. So for example, F major at 9. You start on the F note here on the 13th fret with the 1st string. And you do a pull up to the 8th fret, and then you play the 10th fret of the B string, and then pull up to the 8th fret, the G note here, and then you play the F note on the G string. So 13, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8, 10, 8. was a question here. Not a question, but it might be useful for other people to briefly talk a bit about how these triads plus and markdown work over other chords that are not A minor. Yeah, that's a good question. So in minor we have, add 9. We can add the flat 6, which in A minor would be the F note. But then also, if we do, let's say we do a G chord, good old G chord. You can add the 9th again. So in G, that would be the A note. You can also add, the 4th, or I guess that would be the 11th. So you do. And here I'm playing 17th fret on the D string, 16th fret on the G string, and 17th fret on the G string again, 19, and then skip to the first string, the 15th fret. Let's see here, for example, how the A minor 9 arpeggio would work when superimposing it over another chord, such as F major or C major. All right, this is getting a little too advanced with the theory here, but I think what is meant is to. Tommaso, could you help me with that?
Absolutely. So the idea is this. It's let me get a bit more in the screen here. So the idea is this: you can play the A minor add 9 arpeggio as an A minor arpeggio, meaning a bit of bass of A, maybe, no? So now it sounds like A minor add 9. Great. But the same group of notes, A, B, C, E, will work great over other chords. So for instance, if I play it over a C chord, so the backing track is playing a C chord. Okay, so I have a bass of C now. I can still play the A minor add 9 on top. And it still works, no? And it works because a few of those notes, like the C and the E, are not of the C major chord. So it fits in. But some other notes are not. The B note is not part of the C major chord, it's the major 7th, and the A note, it's the 6th or 13th, whatever. But those notes still sound cool over a C major chord. So if the chord progression goes A minor C, you can keep playing your A minor 9 and it still works. It just sounds a bit different. It's kind of like doing a pedal point. A pedal point is when you hold a note over more chords. Now you're holding an arpeggio over many chords. Okay. On F major, it will still work the same. Okay. It says on F major, I can have the bass of F. It's a bit harder to play with the bass at the same time. Or I can use this bass here. So I have the bass of F and the A minor arpeggio, A minor 9. Now the interesting thing is that again I have two notes of the chord because the A note and the C note are part of the F major arpeggio. I have again two notes out, which are the B note, which is technically a sharp 11th, and the E, which is a major 7th. And those notes still sound cool over F major. So if your chord progression is A minor, C, F, or A minor, F, C, you keep playing the A minor 9 at 9, okay? And it still sounds cool, okay? So that's how it sounds, essentially. Okay? Now, how do I know those notes sound cool and other notes don't sound cool? Let's take a bit of experience on thinking on what chords work over other chords, okay? But in general, you can think, I mean, you can just see how many notes are in common. And if there are two notes that will work in the new chord, typically the whole arpeggio sounds cool, give or take, okay? It sounds cool also because all those notes change function, like Thomas is saying here. If you consider talking about modulating pitch function. Modulating pitch function is a bit of a long name for something that is pretty simple, which is essentially the A note. It's the root over the A minor arpeggio, but it's the sixth over the C major arpeggio, and it's the third over the F major arpeggio. So the same notes sound different because you're changing the bass, you're changing the function of the note with respect to the bass on the chord, the root of the chord, whatever. Okay, so which means, short, it just sounds cool. Okay. Then you can build chord progressions with that. So you select chords that work with the same arpeggio, and then maybe the last chord, you put something radically different, an E major, E7 dominant, or a G or something, or a diminished chord or something. And at this point, the arpeggio doesn't work anymore. You have to change arpeggio just for variation. But if you keep the arpeggio going for 2 or 3 chords at the beginning of the progression, and it still works while changing the whole thing, the context, the harmonic chord behind this, essentially, it sounds really cool. The point of this being, when you play a chord progression, you don't have to change arpeggio. So when you learn all this super complex stuff, and the problem is you cannot switch arpeggio fast enough, great, with a little bit of theory like we did right now, you can just stay and play the same arpeggio over and over and over and over. It still sounds cool. In fact, probably sounds cooler, to be precise. Okay, so you guys try that. Play the A minor 9 arpeggio, and then try to change the chord below. You don't have to do it like me with everything at the same time. Grab a looper pedal, play A minor, C, F, and then play this arpeggio over those 3 chords, and here it sounds different. And apparently somewhere I did a video on modulating pitch function, and I can't remember where I did it or when I did it, how I did it. So if you guys search on my channel, there must be a video modulating pitch function somewhere. I covered so many things, I forgot how many things I covered. Okay, so makes sense. So that's just how to do those chord progressions as center. Okay. Now let's come back to your arpeggio. Johan, I think you have something on 2 strings, or can you share something on those 2 strings or 3 strings? A lot of people like the tapping, other people don't really like the tapping. So show us what you can do without the tapping.
Yeah, sure. So this one actually ties into the previous example of playing the same arpeggio over multiple chords. Just to show the arpeggio first, I like to do 7th chords. So, for example, if you have a C major 7, for example, we have the C here, the E here, and G here. So 13th fret B string, 12th fret E string, and 15th fret E string. And then if we add the B note here on the just below the root note, we can get a pretty cool arpeggio. And then the cool thing is that if you, let's say we start with a C major chord and you want to play this over that chord, if the chord changes to like A minor, for example, then you can actually change the arpeggio slightly just by raising the pinky finger to the, instead of playing the G note, you play the A note. So we have, instead of B, C, E, G, we have B, C, E, A. And now we have an A minor add 9. So this gets pretty, advanced pretty quickly, but now we have what's called voice leading. So actually think about, instead of jumping around like a cat from position to position, you basically just change 1 or 2 notes inside arpeggio. And I know you, Tommaso, have a lot of videos on voice leading and doing this stuff, so you can check it out there probably. So it's the same as chords. So if you have a chord, we don't want to jump around too much because it sounds a bit jumpy. So that thing is really cool to do with these 2-string arpeggios. So for example, and you can see in the PDF some examples of this, C major 7, D major 7, D minor 7, and different variants there. And you can also move it to different strings, of course. If you get tired of the really bright sound, you can move it just to the middle two strings, for example. So, that kind of thing. Yeah, so that's basically it for two-string arpeggios. Cool.
I'm gonna say one thing here is when people hear about voice leading, they start getting scared because again it sounds like something complex, etc. But in reality, it simplifies your life a lot. Okay, it's just essential, just seeing how different chords can be connected together without moving too much. Which has two advantages. One, it sounds cool. Okay, that's the important thing. Two, it's easier to play. I mean, what's not to like? Okay, like you were saying, you could play just a C major arpeggio here, C, E, G. If I use the same shape and I want to play an F major arpeggio, I need to move up here or down here. And first of all, it's technically hard to go from okay. Big jump. And second, it sounds quite lame. Instead, try to find the F arpeggio up here, and it's here, rather than jumping, okay? It's much easier to change. Here as opposed to jump around, and it sounds cooler. So that's what voice leading is. There's a million different applications. There's an application to arpeggio, but there's a million different applications on everything music. Anybody who wants to make music has to understand a little bit of voice leading, and again, it boils down to find the closest position because it sounds cooler. But again, that's just scratching the surface of the whole thing. Just saying, because people are like, no, that's complex, I don't want to learn it. It's easy, and they put a link on an intros to voice leading in the chat. So if you guys later want to go and check that, it's super easy. Keep going now, Johan.
Yeah. So if anyone right now thinks, okay, this is super difficult, what is this stuff? I just want to shred. Here comes the example for you. So, and I'm not saying these are super simple, but it's this it's not much theory around it. It's just basically you take an arpeggio and you change it a little bit. This is 3-string arpeggios, and what we're going to try now is we're going to change the top note. So we just get a little bit of variations around it. So for example, if we have an A minor arpeggio here, so 12, 8, 10, 9. You might play that, all day long until you get blue in the face, but you might also do this. You can change the top note so you get maybe the F here instead of the E. And the cool thing is that this creates a little bit of dissonance towards the bottom E note on the 9th fret here, which sounds really bad when you play those two notes only. But if you play it as an arpeggio, you get away with it. So you can do all kinds of things and get away with it. And you can also do, 10th fret. One of my favorite ways to do this is if you take, for example, the 4 chord in a minor key. In this case, if we're in A minor, we would take the D minor chord and we play it in this the same shape. So 17, 13, 15, 14. Then, if you want to go one note higher and change the top note, then we actually go from an A to a B note. And then we get a pretty cool sound. So it sounds like this. And that actually creates kind of a Dorian sound. So you get the major 6th in over a minor chord. So this is an example that's pretty easy to use, pretty easy to implement right away, and it sounds really cool.
That's example number 6 in the PDF, if I remember correctly.
That's great. Example 6, alternating
Okay,
top.
because people are gonna like, what is this? What is this? Example 6 in the PDF, guys. Alternating top note.
Cool. All right, and here's the next arpeggio example, and this one I actually don't know exactly where it came from. I know Tom Hess has played this before. I know I learned from some other guitar players, and I've seen a bunch of people use it. So I don't really know where it comes from, but it's a really cool way to play arpeggios. Especially, actually, it's seventh arpeggios only, basically. But it's a cool way to play. So it sounds like this. And this is much easier to play than it sounds. It sounds like some wizard stuff or something, but it's much easier to play. So what you do is you take a minor triad, so 14, 13, 12, and then you add a seventh, both places, both on the top and on the bottom. So you have a G here and G here. And this is example 7 in the PDF. And then you basically sweep down. So you do a hammer on, then downstroke, downstroke, then you do an upstroke, then pull off, upstroke, upstroke. So it's basically down, 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 up, up, up. So sweep picking, basically. And this example is I've heard it referred to as a 2-1-2 arpeggio, because we have 2 notes on the third string, and we have 1 note on the second string, and then 2 notes on the first string. So in this one you can move all over the place, all over the guitar. In the PDF I have some examples. So we have an A minor 7, then we have a D minor 7, and we have a B minor 7 flat 5, or B minor B half diminished. And then we have an E7. Cool. And Tom Hess says that he learned these from George Bellas. That's cool. Okay, so maybe he's the originator.
And the interesting thing of this is that this is a jazz chord progression. Okay, by the way. I mean, technically it's actually a classical music chord progression, but the 7th on top make it a jazz chord progression. Okay, if I was playing this in chords, A minor 7, okay, D minor 7, very plain, B minor 7 flat 5, and then there's the E7, which most people will actually play with a flat 9, and then so. Something like that. Okay, so it's a jazz chord progression. Okay, again, it derives from several classical chord progressions that do exactly the same thing. Okay, but that's why when I often say, when you learn theory for all the styles. Okay, the chord progressions are the same, guys. Okay, from Baroque music to Romantic music to classical Romantic to jazz to pop to metal, we're using the same chord progressions. The difference in how we play them, which is great for everybody learning theory, because you can readily, once you know the core of music theory, you can readily go and branch out in any style and learn everything you can, and then bring it back to your style, or even steal stuff from other styles and bring them back to your style. Okay, so what you learn is the theory to make the chords and the progression, and then all the styling that Johan is teaching you on how to play those arpeggios, and everything you play then will sound metal or rock if you play it that way, but it will sound different if you play it in a different way. Like, okay, makes sense? And just saying that, just trying to make the connection here, okay? Because people are like, no, I don't want to learn jazz harmony. Listen, I'm not a super jazz fan either, but jazz harmony contains a lot of interesting things that you can reuse on everywhere else. That's the point. Keep going.
Yeah, cool. And I actually have a really cool trick. So you're totally right about, because I have used a lot of distortion here. It sounds like metal or rock, whatever. But just change the tone. Play with a clean tone. Let's see here. Or say change the rhythm, like. And then you have something completely different.
Yeah, try to swing it a bit. Ta, 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 ta.
Oh yeah. Something.
See, and it's the same shape of the arpeggios. You just change the tone and swing a little bit, and it's a completely different style already. So again, this to show that you can learn everything, anything from any style. Okay, you don't have to limit yourself to one thing. You can learn everything from everywhere.
Yeah. I also have another really cool trick, which is a way to play arpeggios and make it sound cool in music, which is to do echoes, or actually it's called I think it's called echoes. But what you do is you do a delay and you turn it up so the volume is as equal as high as the notes you're playing. So it's the delay, the echo note is the same volume as the normal note, and then you can do. There's a bunch of guitarists using this. Sounds like, and then you play it in a certain rhythm. And this is a little difficult to explain how to play the rhythm, but if you do it right, it sounds really cool. It's going to sound like this. Yeah, I completely butchered it. That was not the way it was supposed to sound, but it's kind of like this. It's something like that. I can't.
It's okay. It works this way. It's a great trick, and I don't know what I'm talking about. You set the delay with only one note. You have many, so that is confusing you. But set it with only one repetition at 3/16. Okay, so you think about how long is a 16th. Okay, and you set the delay at 3/16. And it's best if you use a metronome at the beginning, so you keep playing in the original rhythm and you don't fall into playing at the rhythm of the 3/16. So they have to play against the delay. And the delay is filling, and you play 8 notes. Okay, pop, 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 pop. And the delay is filling all the gaps, but after the next note, not immediately, so it doesn't sound like a delay. You find this trick on a piece by the band Extreme. The guitar player is Nuno Bettencourt, and the song is "The Flight of the Wounded Bumblebee." Okay, and if you search around, you're gonna find it. And Nuno is playing at half the speed you're hearing. The delay is filling up the rest. The song is actually pretty easy to play once you get the rhythm. Okay, so it's a very interesting trick. We probably sit down one day and do this properly, because it's hard, okay, to do this. Yeah, try to change the delay to dotted, exactly. So essentially 3/16 is an 8 note with a dot. The problem is not so much the length of the delay. The problem is then late after, once you play, to not get swayed from the delay and keep playing the original rhythm rather than playing at the time of the delay, essentially, the tempo of the delay. But yeah, it's a great trick. Not absolutely.
Let me try one last time. If I can't do it, we just move to the next thing. I can't do it. I have to practice it.
But yeah, beside the first time you were doing it, you got it. I mean, I was hearing it, and even right now, you actually got it at a certain point. So relax. But we are we probably should do a video on that.
Yeah,
because I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with this trick.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I have another one. I have actually this one thing. We actually already went through the voice leading arpeggios. So I'm actually going to jump to the next variant here. That's called piano arpeggios, which is basically how you sometimes see piano players, and this is example 9 on the PDF. This is how you sometimes see piano players play arpeggios, but they change one position down, one inversion down every time you play it. So it's the same arpeggio but multiple places. But this gets very difficult to do on 2 strings. So there's one way to play it, which I've heard players like John Petrucci, Jeff Loomis, some other players play. That where you basically go do that thing, but over all strings. So it sounds like this. And you can see that entire thing on the PDF. So it's a little bit difficult to go through the whole thing, but I can show that basically just do one position shift. So what you do is you play the first one, you play 17th fret here, and then 12th fret, and then 13th fret on the next string. So then you do a pull off. So downstroke, pull off, upstroke. And then you immediately go into the next shape, which starts on the second string now. So you do 17th fret, pull off to 13th fret, and then 14th fret. You can do just those as well. It sounds very different from the normal. Even if it's the same notes, so you basically sequence them in a different way. And it's a really, really cool way to use it. And I've written it as triplets, which is the basic thing, like. But you can also make it so that it becomes 16th notes. So it's basically a 3/4 thing. So you accent. You play it as 16th notes, so it's so if you don't want to play it super strict, you can do it with different accents. But that's basically piano arpeggios, and then you can also take the same thing, which is the next example, but you do 4 notes instead. So you do 15, 12, 13, 14, and then you move that one up 1 string every time. So you do. So it's another way to sequence the arpeggio, and that's in general that's a very important thing to do. That because if you play the arpeggio the same order all the time, even if the same note, if you play the same order, it becomes quite boring. So just by changing the order of the notes by using different shapes on guitar, you can get really, really cool arpeggios. And that one, with the 4 notes at a time, you can also do in triplets or quintuplets or some weird combination. But I'm not going to do it here on the live stream. But that's basically most of the arpeggios I have for here. I have one bonus arpeggio.
Yeah, we want to see the bonus mega arpeggio. With a name like that, you cannot leave us hanging dry. You have to play that.
Okay. So I'll play it first and then explain it. what's happening here is we have basically a double power chord. So we have a power chord here, a really bright power chord, but it's still a power chord. So it's a fifth basically. So we have an F and a C, then we have another F and another C. So it's 4 notes. And then you can you add the ninth here. So we have the 13th fret, 15th, 16th, and then the 15th fret, which is in the ninth. And then we have the third here. So at the 17th fret, so 15, 17, 18, 15, 17. And this is the F add 9. And here comes the cool thing. For the next variant, we change the top note, so we get a sharp 11 instead. So instead of the third here, the A, we play a B. And that's basically a Lydian sound. And then for the finale, we do the fifth instead of the sharp 11 or sharp 4. So the third, sharp 4, 5, sharp 4, fifth, sharp 4. And then the last arpeggio here is basically just everything all at once. So you do the fifth first, then ninth, third, fifth, and then you tap the seventh. Then you do pull off to the fifth. So it's basically an F major 7 and the 9 as well, add 9. So, and then at the bottom we go down a couple more notes. So we have the 7th, the 5th, the 3rd, and slide out to the root. And that one, the descending part is actually quite difficult, but the first 4 strings is basically the easiest one to play. So yeah, so it's a fun arpeggio, sounds cool, has the Lydian sound, and you can make tons of variations in that as well.
Yep, and again, guys, it takes a little bit to get it as fast as Johan is playing, okay? But the arpeggio sounds cool even if when you play it a little bit slower. The speed adds a lot, not say no, but it sounds great even when you play slower, so it's worth learning. The difficulty many of you are gonna find, the technical difficulty, is that it's all high frets. Okay, so it's gonna be a bit hard at the beginning to get those 15s and 17 and 18, etc. Okay, so the idea here is you could just take it easy and make sure your hand is relaxed. Okay, so you bring the hand up, you don't try to reach there, just bring the hand up until you get at the end, and you take it slow and make sure the notes rings clearly, and just try to find the position on the fret. Okay, and it will come. Okay, it's just because most people are used to play the frets here, around here, and the higher you go, the less people go there. Okay, where eagles there. Okay, so you take it easy and you work your way up, and it's really not that hard to play that high if you take it easy. Okay, so. And have a little bit of patience with your fingers. Let's say those arpeggios sound beautiful. They have all the right intervals, and stacking up the power chords like you're doing here. It really adds a lot, because you're not using very complex interval sevenths and stuff. You are adding all the sweet ones, essentially. Okay, because you have the fifths and the nine are, it's another fifth. Yeah, but maybe people will not get this specific. The fifth is a power chord. Yeah, let's say A and E note. That's the power chord. If I go another fifth above the fifth, so the A is the root, E is the fifth. If I go another fifth up from the E, I get a B, which is the ninth. So when you, and these, so I have A, E, B, which is essentially an A sus2. Okay. So the ninth is a fifth above a fifth, and the fifth sound really open, okay, and sweet essentially. So whenever you play those kind of suspended chords or the add nine, etc., you have in your ear all those fifths, and it sounds really open, and that's why it sounds so sweet. That's a short music theory explanation of the thing. Of course, there are other intervals inside here, and we will have to go and see exactly why the whole thing works, but it just sounds cool as it is. Okay. Now, I would recommend you guys get the PDF if you haven't already. It's in the description. Okay. And I want you guys to get the PDF for more than one reason. One, I want you guys to go through those arpeggios. You don't have to learn all the licks, but I would recommend having a look at all the licks, and maybe you find one or two that it's more you, it's more your style, it's not what you want to do, and then start working with those. See how they were built, reverse engineer them, okay, try different arpeggios in with the same shapes and all this kind of thing. It's easy, take it easy. If you need help, you write me or you write to Johan, okay, it's not a problem. I mean, that's what we do. It's easiest part of our job, okay, helping people to do this kind of thing. Probably also the fun part of our job, okay, helping people making music. Okay, so don't try to be a completist and learn everything. Go through them and see which one are more you, which one sounds best to you, which one feel best to you and in your hand, which one will work best in your style, okay? And then put your own spin on them, okay? Maybe for you it's more natural to play the note in a slightly different order, for instance, or use a slightly different pattern. Maybe that's your thing, so try, and if it sounds cool, that's your arpeggio, okay? So don't even try to be too. And the other thing why I want you to download this is because then you're going to remember about Johan Tilgren, because this guy in future is going to do great things, okay? I know he's working on a few things, and so you want to remember about him. So when he comes out with those new things, you're going to remember him. Okay, so download this PDF, print it, keep it in your practice space, and start working on that, and it's going to be super fun. In the meantime, I have also another thing for you, and that's less arpeggio E, okay, and more pentatonic E, okay. It's my guide on how to make pentatonic solo sound professional. In pentatonic, I have only 5 notes, okay. I mean, okay, really. In an arpeggio, you have 3 or 4, so I mean, they still have more in the pentatonic. But lots of people get stuck on playing stuff like that in the pentatonic, and it doesn't sound good. There are a number of tricks that you can get from the solos of the great pentatonic players that makes those 5 notes sound much, much better. And there are always the same tricks, and there are not that many. In fact, there are 18 inside this ebook, and even just learning 2 or 3 and putting them in your playing gives a completely different accent and expressiveness to your soloing. So if you like the pentatonic sound, get this ebook, okay, learn a few of those tricks, and you're gonna see your playing changing completely. You maybe play the same note, but you're gonna play them in a completely different way, and they sound much better. And hey, it's free. What's not to like? Okay, so get that. Very good. Johan, thank you very much for everything today. Thank you for the PDF file. It's very, very useful to have a PDF file when you have all those leaks, so people can go and see exactly what you were doing, okay? Thank you for playing all those leaks and for explaining them to us, okay? And especially thank you for collecting all those cool leaks. It's hard to find a collection of great leaks, okay? As usual, learning the lick is part of the thing. The other thing is understanding the lick and then making it really part of your style. I know you did because I've heard you improvise. So, Johan can take this stuff out at a moment's notice when he improvises. So he really has integrated all this stuff. Just saying that, and you guys can do the same. Incidentally, it's not that it's impossible. Okay. So, and by the way, I see a lot of people here thanking you for too. So yeah, thank you for the example. Great way to explore option and find starting point for leads part. Thank you for the school live stream and ideas and explanation. This was great. Thanks. Awesome job, Joanne, and it was an awesome job. Very good, guys. This live stream is gonna stay available in the channel. Okay, so you can watch it again and recheck everything Johan was doing, and I recommend you guys go back and check those links and then compare them with the PDF. Okay. Thank you, Johan. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody who show up. And thank you, everybody who watch this live stream in future. And until next time, everybody, enjoy.